Majid Devder. I am the CEO for the ABC Chemicals Group. I had my first interaction with Blue Ocean early 2013, 2014 with my CPP, CPPM certifications, and then they continued with the commercial contracts. I wish Blue Ocean all the best. As a part of ABC Group, I am now looking at conducting some training sessions along with Blue Ocean for them. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I'm Rajesh Krishnan. I am Assistant Vice President of a company called Lacing Technologies. I have done 3 courses from Blue Ocean, CPPM, CPP, and Six Sigma Green Belt. I would like to thank Blue Ocean in this long journey, which has helped me in enhancing my career, and also have taken part in 2 supply chain events, which have also been able to enhance my knowledge with supply chain.
Assalamu alaikum. My name is Asmal Mullah. I'm here attending the conference with Blue Ocean Academy. I'm an Associate Director for Procurement in IMDAD. I've been associated with Blue Ocean Academy for a long time. I've done with them the CPP, CPPM and the Contracts Management course. I think it's brilliant what Blue Academy is doing, and Dr. Satya Menon, mashallah, being so qualified in his field of knowledge, has always made sure that he contributes to the society, and I believe that's why I'm so happy to be associated with him and with Blue Ocean Academy, and I wish them all the best. And the conference so far has been great. It's really nice to be here, and thank you for inviting me. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Hi everyone, this is Ubaid Al Ali from Louvre, Abu Dhabi, as a head of procurement and contracts. I got in touch with the Blue Ocean Academy, and it was a very good experience in the sense of their knowledge and their expertise and the way of approach and delivering the information. And it was very productive and good sessions and good training that we had, and we learned quite a lot of things and we delivered quite a lot of things. So it's a very good experience. So I encourage everybody of you who wants to go and do trainings and all to try Blue Ocean. They will never disappoint you.
This is Mahmoud Iyad from Ferropan as a procurement manager. I was attended to Blue Ocean Institute, and they were so grateful as a trainer. And we are thanking you for Blue Ocean. We are thanking you for all the trainers, and we are talking for all the support team who they are supported us to get this certificate. Now we are certified for CIPM, CIPP, and we are planning also to get more certification during the contract, including the contracts and for the procurement professional and management. Thank you for all.
Hi everyone, my name is Karthik. I work for ISS Cable Forwarding. As a business development manager. I'm greatly honored to be a part of the Blue Ocean Academy. Also as a student, I've done a supply chain management courses with Blue Ocean. It gives a great platform to build our career along with the working experience. I urge everybody to, if you want to be benefited in your career and grow, to learn and keep learning, as logistics is a big industry and there's lots to learn as you grow in your career.
Hi, my name is Kamraj Ganesh. I am the supply chain manager for MI Gulf Services. Lovely to be here at the conference. Very good job by Blue Ocean. I've been a student of Blue Ocean. Lovely organization and very professional.
Hi, my name is Shamail. I'm Director Purchasing in ARC Middle East. I have done through Blue Ocean Academy many certificate courses, CPP, CPPM, MSIP, CSC, PAE. Just the current one that's finished with Blue Ocean. So I'm really thankful to Blue Ocean to provide this professional courses and platform. And I'm really thankful to the team, Jitu, and the trainers, Dr. Hassan. And of course, my, what you can say, role model is Dr. Satya Menon. So it's a very wonderful conference arranged, a good platform to learn and mingle with different professionals. So I'm thankful to all of Blue Ocean team. Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Wilson N. Bolivar. I'm working in Abu Dhabi Commercial Properties. and I'm working as a procurement officer in the facility management department. I have earned my certificate in Blue Ocean. It's CICCM as well as the CISCM. So it's a great experience, especially attending this such big conference. And I'm proud and I'm really appreciate Blue Ocean's gatherings like this. So thank you, Blue Ocean, and for all those professionals who was willing to add value in their knowledge. Blue Ocean is the right place to be. Thank you so much.
Hello all, my name is Saivu Jacob. I work with Mediclinic Hospitals as a supply chain officer. I have done CPP, CPPM, CISCP, CISM with Blue Ocean Academy. I'm very much thankful to my course coordinator, Abdul Wajid. He guided me to the right courses, and I have referred around more than 5 people for these courses, several courses with Blue Oceans. I'm thankful for Blue Ocean for giving opportunity for such a wonderful conference and helping us to know about the new trend and the new skills in the market.
Hi, good morning. My name is Kirti Vasan. I'm a general manager commercial logistics for a building material company. This conference I've been attending, this is the first time I've attended the conference, though I've attended a lot of programs of Blue Ocean. This is very useful for all the supply chain and purchase managers. And Blue Ocean is very good in terms of academic training. I myself have done a few courses with them. So I recommend anyone who's pursuing in this field to do some courses with Blue Ocean. Possibly it will add value to the profession.
goes to Team Korea.
Can I please request all the delegates to come inside? We are going to reconvince our session. Can I please request all our delegates to be seated? Let us reconvince and continue to delve in the key strategies and best practices for achieving a balanced and sustainable supply chain.
Thank you, Tarushi. So thank you for coming back, and I think we had a very good discussion before we took that break, and now I'm going to move into the actual reason why we chose this topic, which is balancing sustainability with resilience, right? So we are actually now getting into the resilience side of things, because in the world of supply chain, resilience and sustainability are seen as opposing forces, right? And a lot of supply chains struggle with deciding which one of the two should I adopt. The moment there is a disruption, we naturally tend towards resilience. Because if you have to be sustainable, then you have to be frugal, then you have to be just in time, right? And that goes against the tenet of resilience. So that's the reason why we have chosen this topic, because now things are going to get a bit hotter, right? It was all generic sustainability stuff before the break. Now we are actually going to get into analyzing, with the expertise of our esteemed speakers, how their organizations balance this resilience with supply chain. Yeah? So I'm going to again put Asma on the spot, and I'm going to ask her this question. What are the key factors which are actually influencing or preventing them from achieving resilience in their organization, right? It could be seen as a negative thing, where it could be seen as barrier, or it could also be seen as a competitive advantage, right? So we will hear from the panelists both the perspectives. Yeah. Over to you, Asma. We're talking about what are the challenges or barriers in your industry which is preventing you from embracing resilience, right? Because we are very clear that you are committed to sustainability, but resilience is often seen as an opposing force to sustainability, right? So we are asking, how do you manage this balance between resilience and sustainability? Yeah.
Welcome back, everyone. I hope you had a fruitful networking. Welcome back. So yes, the question being challenges or barriers that we face in our automotive industry. I think just during the networking session, I was having a discussion with my esteemed colleagues on the floor regarding this. And I think the thing is that, our customers, like I said, in the automotive industry are very pro to getting into the hybrid and, electric vehicles. So there are barriers such as, still majority, we are petrol-driven automobiles, which will definitely phase out. But definitely, the barriers are the costs that we incur bringing in petrol vehicles. There's a lot of competition in the market. I mean, so many brands of cars. Just look at Dubai roads. It's amazing that the brands of cars that we have here. So there's cost, there's shipment, there is, competition. So that's a barrier. Sometimes the barrier is also the mindset and how we work, within an organizations. For example, we could have technical challenges, technical barriers, wherein, our data is not up to the mark of what we want. So technological barriers, people working in silos. Sometimes in organizations, you don't have skilled people, who could up the game for you to, overcome these kind of issues and, tolerances. So we have to work with so many things in mind, keeping in mind our financials and, what customers want and what our people within the organizations are capable of doing from, the skill set side, the technology. So I think it all goes hand in hand. And it's a very big part of making sure that the supply chain is resilient. Thank you.
Thank you, Asma, for getting us started on this dimension. As Asma mentioned, being sustainable obviously comes at a cost, and usually that cost is resilience, right? And that's what organizations mostly struggle with in terms of deciding when there is a disruption, when that moment of disruption happens, which one of the sides do I take? Do I continue to remain sustainable, or do I choose to be resilient and give the customer the product or the service that they're looking for without actually caring about sustainability, right? So that's the question we are discussing now. So moving on, Mohammed, if I can put you on the spot next and ask you, how do you manage resilience, or how does your organization deal with being resilient without actually compromising on sustainability? Or if at all you are choosing sustainability, then at what cost does it come to you, in terms of how do you have to compromise on resilience to be sustainable, right?
Thanks, Vipin. I think one thing we need to get clear is what is resiliency? A lot of people think resiliency is redundancies that you keep in your processes, in your resources, to react and respond to sudden changes in the environment around you. To me, one of the definitions I read about resiliency that really kind of resonated with me, made a lot more sense, was your capabilities to continue providing products and services to the market, a better ability than your competition, right? How ready are you to continue doing it? And one thing that the COVID has proven is that just-in-time concept has failed, right? Because you keep your inventories extremely minimal, keeping absolutely no room for any error or any external changes. And the moment you are shocked with any of those, I mean, we've seen COVID happen, we've seen geopolitical issues happen around the world, we've seen the Suez Canal blockage, the Red Sea obstruction, and each of these shocks sends you into a kind of a whirlpool, and you start from zero and you start from scratch. The one thing that us at Tabrit we are trying to do is we no longer look at where we source our products from. So it's not about spare parts or equipment coming from Europe, but where in Europe exactly? Is it on the eastern side of Europe? Is it on the western side of Europe? Is it on the eastern side of the world? Just to make sure that if there is any obstruction anywhere, that our suppliers have multiple manufacturing units around the world where we can change locations quickly. Because cooling, if I switch off cooling for an hour in peak summer here, it's a disaster. It's a basic need for everybody in the region, and we can't afford to run out of spares or equipment. So resiliency, sustainability will all come at a cost. The idea is where do you strike a balance? How much redundancies do you keep in your inventory, in your people? And there are multiple challenges that we face day to day to understand how we can overcome these challenges. But you got to absorb financial impact on the organizations to continue providing services and products to your customers.
Thank you, Mohammed. You brought up very two interesting points, which I just want to dwell upon and also give food for thought for our speakers. One is the redundancy thing, right? So how much of redundancy or inventory or flab you build into your process so that you can be resilient, right? You are already factored in. And that's, the moment we say that, we intuitively know that we are not being sustainable, right? Because if I'm going to stock up on my raw materials, or I'm going to stock up on my finished products, and if I'm in the food services industry, then I have to maintain temperature, right? I have to be concerned about the expiry date. I have to be concerned about the transportation, and then out of the window goes sustainability, right? When you start talking about all these things. So how do you do that? And I met a gentleman, I don't remember his name, at another conference, and he was talking about what their organization is doing, where they are working with local suppliers, right? And this is something which Mohammed, touched upon, right? So rather than trying to be just in time, which can actually affect your ability to be resilient, can you start now working with suppliers who are in the same side of the world as you are? So in the event of a disaster or a transportation disruption, you are still covered because your supplier is in the same geography or the same physical location as you are. And interestingly, I mean, this is something which you probably already would know, but the flip to this is that this also makes you ESG compliant, because this is the S of the ESG, right? So you are actually utilizing the local talent or the local supplier, and you are actually contributing to the S aspect of ESG, right? So you are now also being sustainable by doing that, right? So it's very interesting. Mohammed, thank you so much for bringing that point. And the other one is, he spoke about, being an energy company, I can't switch off my cooling. In this part of the world, I can't even switch off the cooling for 1 hour. It's going to affect customer experience. And again, I remembered another gentleman I met in Saudi, who's actually piloting this project in Riyadh as we speak. And apparently what he's doing is, he's putting sensors in residential buildings and villas, right, which are directly connected to the equipment and the white goods that are being used. So for example, the refrigerators, the microwave ovens, and stuff like that, which are usually left running the whole day when there's nobody in the house. And he has some scientific data to say that if you don't open a refrigerator, right, it can stay cool for up to 3 hours without power. Yeah? So very interesting. So I asked him, so who's going to pay you for this? Because I'm presuming that those devices are going to cost money. And why would somebody allow you to switch off their refrigerator, when there is a risk of the food getting contaminated? Why would they do that? So he says, we pay them. So for the duration of time that I switch off their refrigerator, whatever is the energy that is saved, I pay them. And how am I able to pay them? Because I actually sell that energy to somebody else who needs it more, right? So it's a beautiful concept where, even in this part of the world, people are doing innovative things to be sustainable and not at the expense of being resilient. So with that, I'll move on to another interesting dimension of resilience, which is technology, right? So we can't escape from technology today. We keep talking about technology all the time. So I'm going to ask Fred here, what does he feel? I mean, does he feel that technology can actually help in organizations become more resilient without compromising on sustainability? So the key here is, how can I be resilient by leveraging technology without compromising on sustainability? Over to you, Fred.
Yeah, thanks. And I mean, I like your example of the chips in the fridge you said. I think it's an example where you increase actually both resilience and sustainability, right? So, and I was just looking at the topic of today, balancing resilience and sustainability. I would like to give an example where we lift both. So we don't have to struggle to balance, but we increase the resilience and also the sustainability. So if you come to Abu Dhabi Khalifa Port, we have a terminal there that's semi-automated. So it's one of the only ones in the region, actually. You'll see a lot of electric terminal trucks there. So there's a high degree of automation and a high degree of electrification. So that obviously brings efficiencies as such in itself. The automation helps to get a container from A to B quicker in a shorter distance, so you naturally use less power already. And we don't use diesel consuming trucks, so it's more sustainable in 2 ways, you could say. What else it does, it makes us more resilient, and I'll give some examples. Very recently we had the storm in Dubai, or in the UAE, and of course a bit further beyond that was COVID, where I think if people think of resilience, they always think of examples what happened during COVID. So I'll just use those 2 examples and how that the technology helped us being more resilient during those 2 events. So what we saw recently during the storm is that the very next day, some of the laborers could not reach our port. So because the roads were flooded, however, we were able to keep continuing to operate our terminals, because the trucks, they were self-driving. You could actually remote control them. And they can even, you don't need someone to fuel them, because they can charge themselves in the dock. So when the battery is low, they automatically drive back to their charging station. So I think, that it's a great example. Of course, the capex investment upfront is higher, but on the long term it pays back. It adds to our reliability as a port because the ship owners know, okay, Khalifa Port will keep operating during those type of events. So it paid us back definitely more than enough. So yeah, definitely a good example of how you can increase both at the same time.
Great, thanks for that, Fred. I think that is awesome, right? Because a lot of times, intuitively, we would think that what can they do in a port? It's such a heavy-duty industry, and it relies so much on carbon fuels. What can they do? I mean, they don't have a choice, right? They can't be sustainable even if they want to. And here we are talking about an example where they're being sustainable and resilient at the same time, right? So that's I think a very great point, Fred. Thank you so much. Samar, we haven't heard from you in some time. Would you like to add to this discussion?
I mean, I don't think they're contradicting. I think technology, even sustainability, are enablers of resilience. You know, one thing I think it was a very interesting story. When Apple decided to remove their charging blocks from their iPhone, people were making jokes about them. And, you know, this takes me back to what Mr. Walid said about, you know, how culturally we were all designed to preserve, right? And I think it's just about the value. Now, for them to achieve such a risky kind of move in the market, I'm pretty sure they leveraged what they do ahead of many other companies when it comes to sustainability. Because the biggest blocker for resilience is complexity. Supply chains are complex. It's very easy, you know, to say, oh, I'm going to push resilience in my supply chain. But for the most part, as Mohammed said, it's just understanding the details. The devil is in the detail. And when you do such projects like sustainability, when you enable things with technology, you understand your supply chain. And then you can start putting the building blocks to make it resilient. So it's really fascinating when you look at these dynamics. Maybe my answer is not always applicable, but I would say sustainability definitely is one of the areas that push resilience. And you know, one interesting story about technology, by the way, and me and Mohammed were talking about buzzwords before, you know, AI, machine learning, all of these things. Maybe today they don't solve everything, but there are technologies, if you invest in them, you can do something. So Walmart in Canada, when they looked at the complexity of their supply chain, they were dealing with so many partners, suppliers with different ERP systems. And they couldn't really get data they can use to make decisions, to push things. So what they've decided, they said, let's invest in blockchain. So they had all these partners, like different tiers and layers of their supply chain, talk to a single blockchain. So it tracks the process of the supply chain with different blocks in the blockchain. At some point, they were having visibility that they never had before, and they didn't need to go and change the technology of the partners. So innovation comes into picture with this, right? So all of these things, sustainability helps innovation. When you go question things, you'll come with an idea, you know? So I think Apple did it really well. People were laughing about removing the charging block. Look at the major manufacturers now, Samsung and all the others. They followed that, but they had a very solid value proposition to the consumer. And if you watch again the video where they dropped it the first time, you will see they made an image, not just a claim. So they said, us doing this just removed an equivalent of, I forgot the exact number, but like 50,000 cars like off the street in a year. So I think the consumer, going back to the early point of Walid, I think we have it in us that we want to contribute to a bigger goal, and it worked with Apple. And by the way, I think they have one of the best kind of return programs. So I think no other technology company has so much returns, and this added to their resilience. Like, they get back from the consumer who believes in the value of sustainability of Apple, lots of products that are going back as spare parts. So that added to the resilience. So I think all in all, it works together. It just needs a little bit of a challenge and pushing the boundary on things. It might go wrong, it might go right, but if it goes right, it goes really right.
Great. Thanks, Samar. Those were very good points. And what I'm hearing from all the speakers is that it's not really a problem, but it's more of a lack of maturity to look at the bigger picture, right? When you're looking at each of these elements in a silo and only measuring sustainability in a silo or resilience in a silo, obviously it doesn't make sense. But when you look at them combined, when you look at the larger picture and measure the whole, then it begins to start making sense, right? That's what I'm hearing. So moving on, I'm going to again put Fred on the spot and ask him about disruptions, right? Because resilience is to do with disruptions. How quick your organization can get back on its feet after a disruption. And he already touched upon this with the example that he gave, but I'm sure he can add a lot more to this discussion. Fred.
Yeah, thanks. I think, and I'd just like to get back to the point of local production as well, right? So if you produce locally, you're less vulnerable for disruptions, or because you less subject to maybe chokes in the supply chain. And I think that also counts for energy production. And again, this goes in hand in hand. If you look at most renewable energy sources, they are usually locally produced, whether it's wind, maybe solar. We recently saw the new energy policy from the UE government, where you see Mazda is closely involved with setting up the hydrogen valleys. I think these are great examples of being more resilient. I mean, of course, you could say, well, we have oil here as well locally. We're not depending on other countries. But I think this goes to another level of local production of energy. We have, for example, in Abu Dhabi, in Kizat, is chosen as one of the green hydrogen valleys, as they call it, with us as an economic zone. So Kizat and Khalifa Port is more resilient. I think we're less independent. We have our own power. We see very high demand from companies who want to settle close to the port, and they have a need for green energy. Actually, to the extent that right now we're seeing that if I think of iron ore or steel manufacturers, they actually demand that you will have green energy in about 4 or 5 years from now. So if you don't produce that locally, you lose your resilience, and obviously you lose on sustainability. I think this has been quite a key changer. We spoke before about government regulations and customer demand for sustainability, or maybe as a vendor, whether you supply it. I think it has to come from all angles. If there's no government regulation, you often tend to see that the customer demand is not as strong as it otherwise would be. There's some I'm not sure if you've seen in the media, but there's some court cases actually going on in Netherlands where Shell is taken to court by environmentalists because they're saying you're endangering people's lives because of climate change. So one of the things that Shell said to the judge, they said, well, what do you want us to do? The customers keep asking for oil. So I don't think that's the right attitude, of course, but you kind of hear that pain, right? Because the customers keep asking for oil, so they keep producing. If all the customers would be asking for green energy, they would produce that. So again, going back to my example of the iron ore, where you really see now the government is stepping in. They're saying, hey, by this year, steel needs to be carbon neutral. The European Union has very already strict regulations coming on that, and we can really see that's trickling down now to all the layers of these mega projects planning, and I think that's when it all comes together: the government, customer demand, and what the supplier or the vendor can offer, basically. And again, with energy being produced locally, I think it adds a lot to the sustainability. It's a global development, I would say.
Thank you, Fred. And I think Asma would like to add a point to this discussion. And after that, we will start taking questions from the audience. Yeah.
Thank you, Vipin. I just wanted to add a point on technology. Since we're speaking on technology, it always goes, I believe it goes hand in hand with, supply chain. And we always talk about, how to improve things. So technology is an enabler, agreed. It enables us to do a lot. But by the same token, it can also make our supply chain very resilient. I was just reading a case study that I came across, and I thought it was so interesting, and I thought I'll share it with you. It is when a farming company in Europe actually used Internet of Things to see how they can better improve their farming. So what they did was, the Internet of Things, they were wanting to figure out how things can, be improved on the farming side. So they studied the weather, they studied the soil, and they figured out, when they studied the soil, they can actually say on what nutrients are missing, what they need to add, how they need to improve their produce. And of course, we all know, right, that there's scarcity of food across the globe in so many countries. So I just thought that what they did with technology, including, studying the weather and, studying the soil and see how much, produce can be managed and at what level it should be managed to make it, available to everybody. So I think technology in that sense really helps us and makes the supply chain really resilient. Thank you.
Thank you, Asma. Thank you so much for that perspective. So I will now move on to the audience. We have not given them a chance yet. There are a lot of people waiting to ask questions. So if you could just raise your hand, we will get the mic across to you and you can ask your question. And if you want any specific speaker to answer your question, please call out their name. Yeah?
I saw a hand raised here.
Hello. Good afternoon to all of you. This is Amit Daga. I have one question. As all of you did the sustainability in your organization, I would like to know what are the challenges you faced, especially those challenges which you thought it's obvious it's going like a cakewalk. But when you did the real life job, then you find it, no, it's not that easy what you thought. So basically, I would like to know about your experience in that. Thank you.
I think I can give my perspective on the challenges of implementing sustainability. One we said is, of course, the customer's preference. If the customer stands by you, great, fantastic. But when it comes to also implementing sustainability, it's also about managing your internal stakeholders. Like, some people are very reluctant to change, so change management becomes a very important topic. Like, for example, the sales and the business guys will always say, we're making money, we're selling cars, let it happen, don't talk about anything. We're just making numbers, so we're happy. But, to get them to the level saying that, change management needs to be managed. So I think that's where it is. And like how Samir said earlier in the day, that it has to be spoken for all the departments across the organization. It's not just procurement or the shareholders talking about it. Every business unit has to talk about it. Even for that matter, our legal department is very conscious that we put in our contracts with suppliers to make sure that they also are aware of their sustainability initiatives. And I think this is beautiful because also the ISO 2400 talks about sustainable procurement. And like we also said earlier, it should not be very rigid, where businesses are not able to adapt. So the ISO sustainable procurement gives you generic guidelines, which you can then cater to your business needs. I think so. That's the best thing to manage change and to take it from there.
Hello. I would like to add one point. As you rightly said, change is very difficult. Nobody is ready to and accept the change. How you managed it? Because like I'm a finance guy. Finance is the most rigid people. No, you have to do. Like, this is the approval paper. You have to fill this approval in the hard code copy, submit me this copy, then I will approve. So I'm among them. So I would like to know how you convinced legal team no, we need that 50 pages documents, every pages need to be signed with the 50 different people. So how you guys made sure that they accept?
Fred, you'd like to take that?
Yeah, no, we speak the same language. I'm a typical finance guy as well, so I can resonate to that. And it goes back to your first question where you ask, you know, what challenges do you see to something that maybe seemed simple, but it was not. So let's give an example. You maybe have an employee who says, hey, why don't we put solar panels on the roof? Seems obvious, right? Then, okay, fine, this seems like a good idea. You start developing your investment case, and then it maybe turns out that the investment returns are not as you would thought or would have hoped. But at the same time, you know that maybe your board of directors or your shareholder stands behind ESG, so therefore you still hope to get it past the line, right? Something that we are doing, we actually implement a system for this that actually gives a value to the, for example, the carbon savings or the safety improvement. So when you put your investment case forward, you don't simply have a simple IRR with a dollar return. It also puts a value to your carbon savings, and then you come to a total return of that investment. And for us, that's helped us a lot to translate things to the board of directors who would maybe have to approve those type of CapEx cases, because generally it's very CapEx heavy investments you're dealing with, right? So I think that's how we go to our forums, where you say, you need to tick all the boxes. It's one way to get around it for us.
One other aspect, if I can add to this discussion, is the fact that a lot of people say, what's the main role of procurement? So everybody thinks the procurement professionals only discuss commercials, negotiate contracts, do pricing, and all of that. But for me, to be honest, in all my years of procurement, I've learned one thing. Everything else apart that procurement professionals do, one of the most important is stakeholder management and how you influence your stakeholders, whether it's at the top or it's at the bottom. It's a very difficult role. Yes, you're doing everything in procurement, but your stakeholder management is number one, according to me. If you can get your point across, then you can convince the toughest legal guy, you can convince the toughest shareholders, but if you cannot communicate and get your point across, that's it. I think you've lost it already. So I think stakeholder management and influence is very important.
Thank you, Asma. I think this gentleman here has a question.
It's not about question, actually. It is to share my experience on some of the topics we discussed. I'm Mohan Nathan. I'm
Even better.
Yes, supply chain manager, work for Lafarge, Gulf Extrusions, and Cemex Hydro in the senior level as a supply chain manager. So one of the point about JIT, Mr. Mohammed Habib was talking about, there are concepts we use is vendor managed inventories and consignment contracts, which will eventually keep your inventory by making a strategic alliance partnership contracts with the supplier, price and supply agreement. This is one of the things. Second thing, ordering products from the Europe, which can hinder your resilience by breakage of anything. We can do that in a way that the same product is available in many other countries. So I apply a logic, alternative region, alternative product, alternative technology. So those are all the products we can get from even Asian countries, which will avoid eventually your lead time, your follow-up of getting the material, and you can follow-up cost is also much cheaper by reducing your logistics cost. So there are several things we can do it. The most important, the supply chain, yes, stakeholder is the main thing, but the product knowledge is equally important for the supply chain professional. And then the strategy of sourcing. If you don't know about the sourcing, it is highly impossible to get your product. So sourcing is the key essential part of a supply chain manager. And to do so, there are technologies available now. So any product, you can get it from the internet with your quality of knowledge. If you don't have that knowledge, you cannot get that product right. So here the stakeholder is coming. So make use of the stakeholder technology and knowledge. With the support of them, commercially we can also excel. So being a supply chain manager. So next thing, About the TCO, the question is to Mr. Mohammed Habib. You told about the total cost of ownership. The procurement guy is working, or the supply chain guy working on the end user's request, because the product procurement is coming to the productions or operations, which is not our call. So they ask for, say, a product, which is aluminum blast, for blasting a product. I'm just giving an example. That product is coming under DG, dangerous goods, which has to be disposed properly. But procurement guy is bringing the item, and the disposal part is more or less not with them. So how can I handle this topic?
Okay, it's a very good question. Again, the question is, a lot of times procurement professionals, we get requirements from the end users, and we are simply responsible to get the best product with the lowest CapEx requirement, right? And how do we make sure that the total cost of ownership is looked into, is considered when selecting the right product? So not in all categories, but certain major high-value categories, we implemented the TCO as part of our commercial evaluations.
Yeah.
Right, so we no longer look into the CapEx requirement or CapEx cost expense of one-time purchase, but we look into the shipping, the life cycle cost, right? The OpEx requirement, how often you need to service the component, and how often you need to change the spare parts. And what we notice is sometimes, and I think it's a good ratio, about 60% of the times, things that cost you lower actually cost you a lot higher in long term. Because it might have a shelf life or consumable life of about 6 years to 8 years in some cases, whereas something where you spend maybe another 20% higher will last you twice as much. Yeah. Right, so in some categories, we included them as part of our commercial evaluations. Now, we have a committee that looks into certain categories, right? It's not a one-man's decision, whether it's procurement or the end users. You know, there are committee members who are from different departments, and they look into it, including one from finance, because they need to make sure that there is an efficiency on the expenses. So maybe that's something you can start with. Take 1 or 2 categories, make them as part of the TCO evaluations, and slowly expand that model into other areas of purchasing.
Perfect, brother. Thank you. Thank you so much.
It's very interesting what Mohammed just brought up, because I just want to share my personal experience with a client, very quickly. So this is a big company in the aviation sector, and they had a problem. They had 3 million worth of inventory of a particular spare part, which actually went into an equipment which was no longer in use. Right? So I asked them, how did you end up with so much of inventory in the first place? Where the equipment is gone out of production, but the inventory is still there in your warehouse. And they say this is because we were getting a heavy discount, when we were procuring this spare part. So we ended up buying 100,000 units instead of 1,000 units, So this is a typical problem where you end up mass procuring something without actually thinking about how many years or how many centuries it is going to take for you to end up using that inventory, right? It's a classic problem.
Vipin, I'm going to add one more case study from our side of business. Is normally we hear of delays in inventory, right? Where suppliers bring you the materials delayed. And you don't like those because they're delayed. That means you need to now rush to your maintenance requirements and whatnot. But what happens when suppliers bring you things ahead of time, a little earlier? Are you guys generally happy about that? No, not for me, because I get challenged because I don't have space to store them. I need to go outside, get third. It has an impact on payment too, because the earlier you bring it in, it adds no value to me in my business. So when I want something in 75 days, you bring it in 75 days. It's of no use for me at 30, because my schedule and maintenance may be scheduled for 3 months from now.
Thanks for that input, but I'll tell you what exactly they're going to do now after trying all these options is they're going to pay somebody money to get rid of that inventory.
That's exactly the second
Right?
point I told about.
Yeah. So they are going to incur additional cost because they want to free up their warehouse space because they don't have space to bring in inventory which they actually need for their current equipment, right? So that's the irony of the situation, right? You already ended up spending money 5 years ago, and now you're spending money to get rid of it. Yeah, great.
Your inventory turnover, according to any industry standards, should be high. Means you bring in inventory and you roll it out fast. You don't order unless, it's rolling out fast. So you have to keep an eye on the cycle. Like how quickly are you rolling out what you're bringing in? If you're not and it's becoming obsolete, then why order? In fact, then you negotiate a buyback deal with the vendor, like you just said.
Great. Next. Yes, please.
Hello. It's not a question, it's an insight. First, I would like to introduce myself. This is Tima Shaban. I would like to add my insight based on the question that the gentleman has raised. He has addressed a question based on the challenges that companies may face on maintaining and applying sustainability, and how they can convince all the departments in the company to apply sustainability. And he mentioned in specific the legal department. So as I'm a lawyer, I would like to add my insight. First of all, I would like to start with the understanding the sustainability and the implementation of the sustainability. So there is a big confusion about understanding sustainability, and the knowledge of understanding sustainability, still there is some people, they don't understand it. So I believe that this understanding and how we can apply sustainability and the measurement that should be taken, this we can start it from the educational curriculum for our kids in the school. So then when we grow up, we will be having the full knowledge about what is sustainability. This is number one. Number two, how companies can convince their departments to apply sustainability. Yes, they can put their policies, they can do some trainings, lectures. However, as based on my practice as a lawyer, sometimes based on the court practice, we are obliged to maintain a hard copy, documents of everything, including contracts. That's why even a contract is 40 pages. We have to print it out. We have to ask the authorized person to sign all the pages, because maybe when there is a dispute relating to this agreement and it goes to the court and the other party deny his signature or deny the contract, then there will be a problem. That's why, yes, based on my experience now as a senior legal consultant in one of the artificial intelligence companies, we heard a lot about this. Why? It's fine, like online signature is okay, but we are still applying, or we are still practicing as per the rules and articles in the country, where in case there is any dispute, the other party can deny, and then if we fail to present the original document, then there's a problem. That's why sometimes, to maintain and to apply sustainability, it's sometimes out of our control. We try our best to reduce paperwork as much as we can, yes, in order to apply sustainability, but on other way, we should maintain the hard copy documents of everything, courts, documents, contracts in specific, in order to protect our company's right and our clients' right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much for that perspective. There's a gentleman on table number 5 who was wanting to ask a question. Ramya, right behind you. Yeah.
Thank you. Hello. My name is Dinesh. I work for a shipping and forwarding company. This question is addressed to Fred. Fred, a little while ago, we were talking during coffee break about some of the vessels being turned into ammonia instead of heavy fuel oil. Normally, one of the customers was telling me, like, whenever they calculate ocean freight, 4% or 5% earlier was taken into account as the cost on the ocean freight while calculating for the product. Now, since the cost has gone up in various parts of Far East and China, it's about 35 to 40%. And other than Maersk, there is no other vessel which is carrying on ammonia. Most of them are on fuel oil. So do you think in the coming years, once the vessels are converted into ammonia instead of HFO, heavy fuel oil, do you think the prices will come down?
It's a good question. I mean, it all comes down to supply and demand, right? As you currently see with oil, what's they're running on right now, and then you see sometimes you have your fuel surcharges when oil price goes up, and the other way around. So I think it comes back to the production of the ammonia. I mean, ammonia itself is charged by a process where you, in a green way, produce electricity, you charge the ammonia and it goes into the vessel, right? So, and that can be done in different places across the world. So it's going to be interesting to see actually how the price setting of that will work, because the oil, I mean, every day in the news you can hear the global oil price, right? Crude oil. There's some different types, but generally it's the same across the globe, and you can get it from A to B or anywhere in the world, really. With green energy, there's going to be a lot more local production. And the Middle East is already labeled as one of the hot spots to do that, because you have a lot of sunlight, so you can create green hydrogen and eventually convert it into ammonia as well. So I honestly don't have the answer to the question. It's I think a matter of supply and demand, and I think also it's going to be interesting to see how energy prices play out when you see a lot more local production.
Got it. Thanks.
Okay, I see some hand going up on table number 10. Ramya.
Hello, my name is Jinos. I'm from FMCG industry, PRF. I have two questions here. One is related to sustainability, and the other one is related to resilience. So the sustainability and the implementation of sustainable resources and energies, all this sprung from when the global warming had gone up 1 degree Celsius over the last 120 years. So I would like to understand, with all these efforts, with Geneva Convention, where many countries had signed zero emission footprint. So with this initiative taken, with the commitment of various countries and the companies, where the global warming is trending to? Are we trending in a positive direction, or is there any measure where the global organizations are taking to bring this back 1 degree Celsius, which is impacting a lot of droughts and various climatic changes? This is my first question. Second question is about the resilience. If you look at, most of the companies were more reactive than proactive, right? So we had a situation, then we react towards that. We had this Red Sea issue where the entire shipment had been diverted through a longer route, which increased the lead time, the availability was at stake. So what your industry is doing in general to be more proactive, predict such, disruptions in supply chain, and what are the parameters you are taking to take necessary actions to avoid such situation in the future?
Great questions. Anyone from the panel would like to volunteer?
I can take those questions. For the first one on sustainability, are we going to miss that target? Yes, we are. We're going to miss the 1.5 degrees, I think is a target, yes, of reducing 1.5 degrees. No, we are not going to make it. Obviously, when we have conflicts around the world, when we have economic issues around the world, sustainability gets the least priority, right? The moment you have gas shut down somewhere, you start burning coal, because you need electricity, you need power, you need heating. What can we do to re-accelerate our efforts? I think the governments are now pushing the agenda a lot more stronger than before, and we've seen that in COP28. We are going to see that same push and momentum in COP29, and I think it's going to continue. And whatever we do is better than doing nothing at all. For the second question, on the resiliencies, one thing that I need to kind of, get the message across is by nature, as human beings, are proactive. By nature, we're not reactive. We think, we plan, we take care of the risks around. You as a father, you as a brother, you as a son, you'd always do these things, right? You've got aging parents, you're going to start taking care of them more. You've got younger kids, you're going to start preparing your house so that they're easy to move around in it. The one thing in the organizations that we've been able to do proactively, and again, being proactive in the organizational context is always expensive because you're putting in a lot more resources, your time into things that may or may not happen in future, right? It's extremely difficult to convince the CFOs sometimes that you've got programs on resiliencies. What we did at Tabreed, we looked at our supplier base, all right? So we zoomed out completely. We've got 2,000 suppliers that we deal with on a yearly basis. Where are they located? Who are these guys? Are they financially okay? Are they ethically sourcing? We tried to quantify as much as we could and highlight the ones at risk. We even went down to the point where we've looked into some suppliers and who are their subcontractors. Are they based here in the region? Are they based elsewhere? Are they reliant on shipping coming from certain parts of the world? And we tried to map them and relocate and readjust as much as we could. It's a work in progress. It's going to continue. We're going to continue spending time rebuilding and reviewing our supply base as much as we can. Just in case we have some shocks coming in the future, we should be ready for it. So that's one of the things that's worked for us. But again, one of the things I think you must always challenge is look at your strategies, look at your policies and procedures. Are they holding you back? Because business requirements will always supersede your policies. If your business requirements are not being met, there's something wrong with your policies, your procedures, or your resource allocations.
Samar, go ahead, please. Thank you, Mohammed.
Just to add one thing, maybe it touches on multiple points. Resistance is good, by the way. Some people say, oh, we want to push sustainability and there's resistance. It's good. I think good companies will inject positive resistance within the same business. It's good that I come and I want to do something in sustainability and I have resistance from finance. This is how you get to think, how you get to create friction and innovation. So that's part of building resilience into the organization. But also one thing I wanted to add is technology. We shouldn't forget about that. One of the examples, things we deliver to our customers, I'm procurement, not sales, but I know this is something that our customers look for, is, for example, digital twins. You can have your supply chain and you can have a digital copy of that in detail, in high fidelity detail, per machine, per process line, and you can model it. You can simulate so many different options. And layer on top of that, now some technology exists with machine learning or AI, you can start getting different scenarios and expected outcomes. I think it's very hard to anticipate those kind of world events like a war or a flooding unless we have those data points or someone is confident about them. But it's about operational readiness. So we have, for example, in Emerson, a review process across the business units and the corporate overall. We go through these checks and balances between different departments. And that's part of these kind of conversations and frictions that at some point will get us to think about these scenarios might happen. Am I operationally ready? What are my weak points? What could break first in my process if I'm stressed as a company? So you do stress testing for your business. You have to do that. Some people learn it from actual events happening. But I would say it should be, at some point, self-inflicted. You should look at it, question it, and try to see, if I put that scenario, what will fail first? Is it my partners? Is it my agreements? You know, I'll tell you one thing. For example, if tomorrow you're manufacturing something based on chips, right? And, you know, Apple disrupted already. I talked about Apple a lot today. Maybe they think I'm a shareholder. I'm not. But, you know, if Apple drops a new silicon, by the way, big manufacturers will go and try to compete with that. And because for them, they know the market will start moving to that direction. So if you are a small player, but you need those kind of electronics in your component or in your products, the wrong partner might tell you, hey, I'm going to park you aside. I have, you know, the gaming industry, they're going to pay back on that. So all of these nuances, like those details, is part of like stress testing your business. And by the way, you can do it in your own department if you're not in that position to bring it up. But friction is good, basically. So it's good that you're having resistance, whomever asked the question in his company.
Great. Thank you so much for adding value to this question. We'll move on to, I think, table number 10 or 11. And we have a few minutes for the last few questions now.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Vipin, and the panelists. Very relevant topic, great conversations, and amazing questions, especially when it comes to user adoption, change management, especially a lot of dwelling deep into documentation. So there are technology adoption plays a vital role. There are tools which are available. So I don't want to get into that, like DocuSign and so on and so forth, right from audit trail. But the question to the panelists is slightly broadening the title. We all talked about, Vipin and the team talked about measurement, measuring. If you can't measure, we can't control. So slightly enlarging this topic, are there any industry benchmarks that you are aligning as a part of the ESG goal based on the line of business that you are in? If so, if you could throw some light, because it's a transformation journey and it's a continuous process, improving every moment, every day. So if you could share some experience based on what the targets that you have set forth, are there any relevant industry benchmarks that you are aligned, and then where are we? That could be an enlightening for all of us. Thank you.
Anybody would like to take that question? In terms of standards for sustainability, are there any international benchmarks that you're following?
I've been quite enjoying the discussion. It's always a lot of good example, I mean, to follow. But the most important, the entity itself, the organization itself, they should look to their own core business and act based on that. Sometimes benchmark with a different industry, it's not necessarily the right thing. Even if it's, I mean, same industry, different country, there is a lot of valuable or different changes contribute in that industry. So the most important, knowing your own business, knowing exactly what you want to achieve through that, and act based on that. This is my simple answer.
Great, thank you so much. Just to add to that question, so there are global standards available, very, very comprehensive standards available. We work with some of those standards when we work with our clients. And these are independently developed standards, and they have taken into account the considerations from different sources, like the United Nations SDGs, the Dow Index, the Malcolm Baldrige Index, all the ISO standards related to sustainability. So they've factored in all of these standards and created something very unique for the supply chain industry. And how it works is basically we start with an assessment. So we use this standard as a reference, and we start with an assessment of the client, see what is the current level of maturity they are at, and then we identify their strengths, because we don't want to touch their competitive advantages. We are very sensitive to that, so we don't want to disturb that, but we then focus on the opportunities for improvement and then help them to bridge those gaps. And eventually, if the company is interested, we also identify what are the relevant sustainability awards globally and help them win those awards. So to kind of cut the long story short, the answer is yes, there are standards available which we can refer to. I hope we answered your question, Ravi.
Thank you. Thank you, Vipin and panel.
There was one gentleman in the last table there who had a question.
Hi, good afternoon. Actually, I have a question from Ms. Asma. She spoke about having a battery-driven or electric-driven cars in coming years. Now, what I understand, manufacturing a battery, it requires a lot of technology and power generating or energy generating resources.
Correct.
And it has a battery life also. So overall, the cost of that battery is quite expensive. And for continuously using it, we have to recharge it again and again. So on the other side, we talk about saving energy in terms of power, but we are consuming it here to charge the battery. And also we are using more money, more finance on having a battery. So what do you have to say on this?
Well, two things here. If you're talking about using electric cars and batteries and charging those batteries, one thing is on the offset we are trying to get away from the burning of fuel, right? So that this is what the idea is, to bring down our carbon footprint and make it net zero by 2050 as per the UAE commitment as well. So we are trying to do that, getting away from burning fuel. That's number one. Number two, when it comes to electric, yes, you're correct. The batteries need to be charged and everything. But the cars that are coming into the region, the electric cars, we have partnered with reputable brands across the globe, to bring in electric cars, and they will be the ones managing that. And we have to ensure that they do it sustainably. So if they're sticking on to those sustainable criteria, then we're very happy with it.
Thank you.
Great. I think there's one more question, but can we take that offline because we are a little over time now? So maybe you can connect with one of us during the break. We're going to have a break soon after this. I'm really sorry. We're a little over time. That's the only reason. Yeah. So with that, I'm going to conclude this panel discussion now, and I'm going to pass it back to Tarushi, and she will let us know what is in store for us.
Our discussions have been enlightening and thought-provoking. Thank you so much to all the panelists, our moderator, Mr. Vipin Vaidyanathan, and to all our delegates. As we almost come to the end of our program, it is now time to recognize our panelists and partners for the unmatched effort they have put to ensure the success of the event. May I invite Dr. Satya Menon, the Group CEO of Blue Ocean Corporation, to the stage to hand over the mementos. First, we have Mr. Fred Van Veldoven, CFO of Abu Dhabi Ports. Mr. Mohammad Habib, Vice President at Tabreed. Mr. Waleed Al Saeed, Supply Management Director at Department of Culture and Tourism. Mr. Sameer Haddad, MEA Procurement Director at Emerson's Automation Solutions. Ms. Asma Al Mulla, Director of Procurement at AW Rastamani. Mr. Vipin Vaidyanathan, Senior Director and Head of Consulting at Blue Ocean Corporation. And I would like to call on stage Mr. Prem Anand, Associate Director, Strategic Growth, Middle East and Africa from our exclusive partner for today's event, Zoho. Thank you so much. Can we please all stand together for a group photo? Thank you so much, everyone. Can I please request all the panelists to stay back? Mr. Prem, I'm sure you'll have something to share with our audience. This is a small token of appreciation that Zoho is giving to our panelists. Thank you so much, everyone. The panelists can all be seated now.
Hello everyone, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure and honor to be an exclusive sponsor for this event. I'm Prem Anand, I'm the Associate Director for Strategic Growth in Zoho Middle East and Africa. A quick thing, because we spoke a lot about technology and sustainability, which is especially going into the tech part of what we are doing. Probably it's, I thought we'll share a couple of minutes on what we have done to the market, and also in the globally we are what we are doing, and a few strategies to implement and adopt when it comes to technology and to go paperless in the company. I would like to start with this quote, especially one of my favorites. Like we have told that I've learned people that they forget what you said, they forget what you did, but they never forget how you made them feel. How many of you agree this when it goes to your customers, when you think about your customers, right? It's always something special. When you do something special to your customers, they remember you. When you go one step beyond, when you do something special to them, they remember you, right? I always compare this with the story of Apple. Back in those days, in early 2000s, when you have gone to the Apple store, you would have felt that the typical, the traditional way of purchase. But when they revamped, when they re-strategized everything, now when you go to the Apple store, you will, find whatever it is there, being a watch or an iPhone, you will stay there and you will be seeing the products, and one salesperson will be assisting you. Within 5 to 7 minutes, you complete your transaction, standing at the same place wherein that person will go out, go to the stock department, they'll get the products, they'll come to you where you stand. So they have re-strategized and they chugged off the traditional method of taking the product, going and standing in the queue, going to the place and getting the products. So this is one extra mile which Apple did to make them feel good, to make us feel good on the products what we purchase. Likewise, it's all about people, right? When the moment we start doing a business, it's all about people. The moment we do something, it's all about people. But we forget one point. It's not about only our customers. It's about the employees as well. We always forget that we do business, we want to make money, we want to become a very good brand in the market, but also when it comes to people, we also want to become a loyal employers in the market as well. So a few things what we did is when you talk about customer experience, it also includes the employee experience. So all the C-level conversations, we have a lot of C-level people and director-level directors over here. I think you can resonate these things. So when you want to revamp, then it means that the first one is satisfaction. So you have to listen, analyze, and act. If you compare 2 points, when you do listen, analyze, and act to your employees, the employees will do the same thing to the customers. They also listen, analyze, and act to the customers. And loyalty, it is always a two-way conversation. When you respond, if you want your employees to respond proactively to your customers, then you have to do the same thing to your employees as well. Being a manager or being an employer, then if you be loyal to your employees, then the employees will be loyal to the employers as well. And advocacy, you have to keep the conversation alive. So how does it happen? Do you think buying more software, throwing on the wall, do you think it's going to stick? I don't think it's possible, right? So of course, a lot of things software can help, but human plays a major role in revamping the entire experience in the company. One of the stats that 75% of people who thought that software can help in completely transforming their business, it failed. And when it comes to numbers, 75% is $900 billion out of 1.3 trillion went to waste when they tried to do digital transformation without them knowing what they're doing or without them knowing how to do it. So a few strategies to avoid the pitfalls. The first one, let's forget about technology for a moment, right? First, we have to have a mindset of ourselves that let's go digital, let's go paperless, and then let's see what technology we can use. So getting the mindset in the company, getting the mindset, as Vipin mentioned in the morning, the top line and bottom line, when the top line decides something, when they tell that, okay, I want to revamp the entire digital transformation, but when the bottom line is not happy with what software the top line purchased, there's no point. When you are inclined towards a software, when you go out and when you buy something, and your bottom line doesn't know how to use it, your bottom line doesn't know how to make the best out of it, then I don't think we are doing the right one. So, and digital transformation is a program. It is not a one-time project. So keep that in mind. And it's always about people. So we always tell culture matters, right, when it comes to people. So think that when you do a digital transformation program as well. And communication is the key. As you all know, we have spoken about this since morning, sustainability when it comes, and communication plays a major part about it. When you want to do something, communicate to the right people, talk to the right people, and get things done. And the biggest obstacle is fear. Fear of getting irrelevant. Fear, what if I do something wrong? Am I going to be fired? Or will somebody, what is the outcome of that? Fear of, that is the biggest fear which we get. And we have to always implement culture in that. And of course, the CIOs. Whenever something goes wrong, everybody blames the CIO. And almost it goes to a different level. So please don't blame the poor CIO. We have to have a shared accountability. We have to make sure that everybody is involved, bring in the right stakeholders, and everybody's involved to it. And always make sure that you strategize and backtrack. So when you have a what and why, you always know how to achieve that. But how do we find? We have a lot of vendors in the market, close to, I don't know, millions and millions of vendors in the market. And can anybody tell me what is this number? Do you have any idea or guess what this 7040 is? Any clue, any idea? Yeah, kind of. Close to that. It's very true. This is the number of vendors available in the market, but this is only for marketing department. So if you want to choose a software for your marketing department, these are the number of vendors available in the market, 7,040 vendors. So imagine if you want to choose a software for your sales department, finance department, procure department, logistics, supply chain, front office, back office, email, collaboration, productivity, then you have to depend on Google search. You will go on Google and type, I want to buy a CRM today. Whatever Google is going to tell you, the top 5 results, you're going to go for it, or the word of mouth. Your friends would have used a different product and you will go for the top 5, right? There is no time and effort. We are not going to spend more time and more effort in finding the best one. So that is what we have done and we are doing for the past 28 years. What we did is we launched something called Zoho One, wherein we solved the problem. We gave a solution to people. We didn't come up with a product-based approach. We came up with a solution-based approach. In one single platform, we looped everything together, starting from sales, marketing, finance, collaboration, front office, back office, and we put it into one different product. So your team don't want to open 50 different tabs, talk to 50 different product vendors, talk to 50 different integration vendors to come up with a solution. We brought in a solution. So who we are, Zoho, 28 years in the market, 15,000 employees. We have developed close to 55 different applications, whatever I showed in the previous screen. And we have shipped our products close to 150 countries with the biggest milestone of 100 million users using Zoho across the globe. And we have close to 800,000 paying customers. We are a billion-dollar company, but not by the Wall Street and San Francisco's billion-dollar company, but we are a billion-dollar company by the real money. This is the revenue which we get per year. Brag wall, we always go by the wall, which the customers believe us. And these are the very few top brands who trust us in the market globally. Again, I want to conclude by leaving the thought to you, saying that always have people in the mind, be it your employees and your customers. Thank you. It's your turn to transform now.
Thank you so much, Prem. Now I would like to invite Mr. Abdul Aziz, the Group Chairman of Blue Ocean Corporation, to deliver a vote of thanks. Your words will serve as a fitting conclusion to our event, expressing our appreciation to all those who have graced us with their presence today.
Thank you, Tanushi. It's been a wonderful day, the great gathering of CXOs from the biggest names in the industry. Do you remember the first slide from the first speaker? From Mr. Vipin Vaidyanathan? Food for thought. I think it's a time for food for stomach, so I will not steal much time from you. It's been a great day. I stand here with a great gratitude to all of you for making this event a great success by investing your time. Blue Ocean being a world leader in supply chain and training and consultancy, you're always passionate about creating platforms for exchanging knowledge and also for networking. We have conducted many international conferences across the globe. Our last conference in Dubai was in the same hotel where we had 800 delegates, 18 speakers flown from different parts of the world, and His Highness Sheikh Nahyan was our chief guest that day. Our last conference was in London, almost a month back, 29th of April. We had hundreds of professionals attended from Europe. Our next international conference is only a few days away, 1st of June in Mumbai, the financial capital city of India. We already have 800 plus professions registered for the conference. And after that, our next conference, we want to have it in Paris, our French version of our courses. Last 6 months, we've conducted 42 webinars and seminars. When we took the count, we have 23,000 plus professionals attend our seminars and webinars. That's how we organize platforms to exchange our ideas, knowledge. We had wonderful panelists today and speakers. Mohammed Habib, VP Tabreed, thank you, sir, for joining us and making this event a great success. Fred Wan, CFO, Abu Dhabi Ports, Sulaiman Abdullah, Director of Administrative Affairs, Federal Tax Authority, Walid Al-Saidi, Supply Chain Management Director, Asma Al-Mullah, Director of Procurement, Ar-Rasmani, AWR Rasmani, Samir Adad, Middle East Procurement Director, Global Project Procurement Operations Director, and also our moderator, Mr. Vipin Vaidyanathan, Senior Consultant from Blue Ocean Corporation. You've done a wonderful job. Thank you very much. And our team, thank you. And our team, Blue Ocean Corporation team, under the guidance and leadership of Ahmed, who organized this event today flawless, and the entire crew, Blue Ocean, appreciate all your effort to make this a great success. And the audiovisual team and the team from the hotel also deserves a round of applause for their wonderful work. Thank you very much. Thank you, all of you, and we have our lunch waiting. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, as always, for leaving us with an inspiring note. As we conclude the session, let me also take the moment to thank our exclusive partner, Zoho. Their dedication to excellence and their belief in our mission have truly made a difference. Thank you for your partnership, which has been instrumental in making this event a resounding success. Hope every one of you had an enriching experience. Thank you all for your active participation and engagement throughout today's event. It has been an honor to be your host for this event, and I wish you all continued success in all your endeavors. Before we disperse, all of you are invited to join us for lunch. Please proceed to the lunch area at your leisure. So we'll be serving lunch at the Silk Room A. Thank you so much. Bon appetit.